Bereisheet bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The beginning, as Oscar Hammerstein would say, is a very good place to start. So let me start by sharing with you both our approach in this course and also the technology which will help us facilitate the discussions and the learning that we'll do in this course together. For this course on the book of Bereisheet, we're going to use a website called Schoology, which you can see on my screen. And to use it, if you've been to this screen, you've probably already logged in. But let me get you through the login process first, and then take you through what our website has to offer. On the front screen, you'll see sign up on the top right, mouse over that and click the word student. You've been given an access code which will enable you to log into our site. This is that access code. Click and provide your information. Make sure to click the box. So now you're into our course. Well, you're into the course module. What you need to do is mouse over where it says courses at the top of the screen. Click on Bereisheet 5779. And here you'll see some folders. In the back end, I have folders for the rest of the course, and I will make those public as we get to them. I will write the words current on whichever module we're in right now, and once we complete a module, I will put the end date where it says current so that we all know how we are progressing. In this course, you can see intro and how-tos and our first unit. Again, there will be more folders as we progress. Click on the arrow next to intro and how-tos, and you'll find a page which includes a video on how to use Sefaria, which will be a really important element of our course exploration. Each of our modules will have 4 distinct components. I'll ask you first to read the text. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is simply read. I want you to read the text from start to finish. If you can do it in Hebrew, great. If you can't do it in Hebrew, feel free to use whatever translation, but please do note that any translation you use does include some amount of interpretation. And so if you float between translations, you might notice some small or significant differences in the understanding of that translator. Within the reading component, I'll ask you really to read this twice. First, to read it straight through. Second, to read it critically. And to ask, what's the basic meaning, what in Hebrew is called the pshat of this text? Who is the main character? Genesis, Bereisheet is chock full of these very dynamic and some fairly static characters. I want you to get in touch with what is that character doing and what are the other characters which are auxiliary to the story but maybe central characters in other parts of the text. What are they doing there? I want you to ask yourself, how is the text being told and where is God in this text? What statement is this text making about theology? I also want you to notice what isn't in the text. A lot of us bring a lot of bias to biblical text, either because we've learned from reading books, from listening to sermons, from hearing stories, but not because we've actually carefully read the text ourselves. So we may be surprised to note what's not in the text here, and I think it's important that we make note of that. Once you've done both of those critical readings, I'm going to ask you to look at commentaries, and that's part number 2. Step 3 of this process is to ask, what do our sages notice? I would ask you to check out some commentaries on these texts and do so using Sepharia, which you'll be able to do using the link at the bottom of the page. In the intro section to this course, you'll see a video on how to use Sepharia, so I won't go into it right now. If you have some questions, please feel free to contact me. So we've been through steps 1 and 2 of each unit of this course. 1, simply read the text and then read it critically, asking yourself some questions. Step 2, find out what questions the commentators are asking themselves about the text. Sometimes I'll leave you a video or an article which will give you more insight into what either classical commentators or modern commentators have said about these texts. And in that section, I'll encourage you to read those as well. Step 3, I'll ask you to have a discussion. Sometimes I'll pose questions, but often I'll leave you to pose your own questions. What is it that you're wondering about in the context of this reading? What's here is a discussion board, and sometimes if there's text underneath there, I'll be able to both respond and also participate in the learning with you. So any questions you have about the text, feel free to leave a comment on the discussion board and engage our group in a conversation. Step 4, I'm hoping we'll be able to get together for some in-person online chat. I'll give you the credentials for some web platform. It might be WebEx or free conference call or Zoom, so that we can all log on at the same time and have a conversation to wrap up the discussion on these materials. Even though you only see section 1 right now, you might notice that our study is not going to be broken up into conventional sections, either by chapter or by aliyah, as in the Torah reading, or by parsha. The sections are divided thematically, and those who divided the chapters weren't necessarily thinking along the same lines that we are, because of course the chapters in the Bible as we know them are actually the Christian divisions of those chapters. So our chapters or our sections may extend longer, a bit longer or a bit shorter than the average chapter, than the average parsha. And I hope that you'll stick with me throughout this so that we can engage both in unit and section-based study, but also in the long arc of the book of Genesis, exploring how one story as a domino effect impacts every other story, how one narrative impacts the narratives that come after it and reflect the narratives or challenge the narratives that come before them. I hope that you'll engage with me in a little discussion or a lot of discussion, which will enrich our understanding of the book of Bereisheet. And I look forward to learning with and from all of you.